Methany White. I told you, last night's post-game reaction, all about the players. AB, Kelsey, CeCe, Monique Billings, giving credit to Raven Johnson. Today, the focus is on Arms Crossed McGee. Twitch Richardson is what we're calling her around here. Stephanie White.
What happens when a franchise finally lands the biggest star in women's basketball and fans still leave the arena angry? What happens when a team built around Caitlin Clark looks confused, inconsistent, and completely out of sync during crucial moments? And what happens when the coach hired to elevate a championship contender becomes the center of the controversy instead? Because right now, a growing number of Indiana Fever fans are asking a question that seemed impossible just months ago. Is Stephanie White already losing the confidence of the fanbase? The criticism is getting louder. The losses are becoming harder to explain. And after another frustrating performance, many believe the pressure surrounding Indiana's head coach has reached a level nobody expected. Tonight, we're breaking down exactly why fans are furious, why Caitlin Clark remains at the center of the debate, and whether Stephanie White's future is becoming one of the biggest storylines in the WNBA. Stay with us, because this story goes much deeper than one bad game.
Well, we're going to look at some fallout, some reaction to last night's game, the loss against the Valkyries, where we saw one player on the team really and truly stand up and rise above everybody else that was playing last night, and that's Raven Johnson. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat, and I probably did not make it clear enough last night. For the second time this year, Stephanie White let somebody else shoot the final shot.
When Stephanie White returned to Indiana, the move was widely praised. This wasn't an inexperienced coach taking over a rebuilding team. White brought years of coaching experience and a strong basketball reputation. Many believed she was exactly what the Fever needed. The organization already had the league's biggest attraction in Caitlin Clark. They already had an all-star caliber post presence in Aliyah Boston. They already had momentum. Now they had an experienced coach. On paper, everything looked perfect. But sports are not played on paper. They're played under pressure. And once the season began, questions started appearing almost immediately. Not about talent, not about effort, not even about injuries. The questions were about identity. What exactly is this team trying to be? And why did the offense often look so different from what made Caitlin Clark special in the first place?
But, yeah, it's a... The one thing I will have to say is, look, I'm gonna be very real here. This was a game that kind of showed what we're going to see for the rest of the season. Like, this is a game, like, this is one of those games, and there was plenty of them last year as well. There was plenty of them last year where Steph White...
Every coach faces criticism. That's part of the job. But what makes this situation different is the consistency of the complaints. Fans aren't upset about one game. They're upset because they feel they're seeing the same problems repeatedly. When Caitlin Clark plays freely, something changes. The pace increases. The floor opens. Defenders panic. The entire offense suddenly feels dangerous. But critics argue that too often, Indiana drifts away from the very actions that create those advantages. Instead of leaning into their strengths, they appear to search for alternatives. And that has created a growing divide between what fans expect to see and what actually happens on the court. The result? A fan base becoming increasingly impatient.
Was an absolute disaster for the Indiana Fever. No way to spin that. It was simply bad. They got outplayed in every aspect of the game, coaching on down. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Uncensored and unafraid. Shout no. Is it okay to scream and yell and stomp your feet about an absolutely pathetically bad game and think the sky is falling? Yeah, sure, of course, fans do that.
The reality is simple. Caitlin Clark isn't just another talented player. She's one of the most transformative stars women's basketball has ever seen. Since college, Clark has built a reputation for playing fast, playing aggressively, and creating chaos for opposing defenses. Her range changes defensive schemes. Her passing vision creates opportunities most players don't even see. And her ability to take over games has attracted millions of new viewers to women's basketball. That's why every coaching decision involving Clark gets magnified. When she succeeds, everyone notices. When she struggles, everyone notices even more. And when fans believe she's being underutilized, the criticism becomes relentless. Because fair or not, Clark's presence changes everything.
Can I be honest with y'all about something real quick? And understand right now, if we had won last night in Golden State, I would feel the same way. If we had won every single game this season, I would still feel the same way. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm seeing. I followed Clark from college to the WNBA to watch her play her game. All right? I'm not saying she got to take 20, 30 shots a game because we know she passes.
One of the biggest talking points involves the partnership between Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. On paper, it's a nightmare matchup for opponents. Clark forces defenses to extend far beyond the three-point line. Boston demands attention inside. Together, they should create one of the most effective two-player combinations in the league. And when Indiana fully commits to that partnership, the results can be spectacular. Fans see flashes of brilliance. Analysts see enormous potential. But critics argue those opportunities don't always receive enough emphasis. Instead, there are stretches where the offense appears disconnected. And every time that happens, the questions return. Why move away from something that works? Why make the game harder than it needs to be? Those questions have become central to the criticism surrounding Stephanie White.
About as rough a showing as you'll see from Caitlin Clark. Got to give the Valkyries credit for that in a lot of ways. The Fever offense as a whole wasn't the offense that you're used to seeing. A lot of that due to the length, the athleticism, the tenacity, the physicality of Golden State. The Fever, Clark were able to fight through that in the last game. Obviously, all the ish talking with Tiffany Hayes and 22 points and 9 assists, I think it was, last game around. But in this one, Clark never really got going, never really took control of the game.
Another major issue involves rotations. Who plays? When do they play? And who closes games? Those decisions can define entire seasons. Throughout the year, fans have debated substitution patterns and lineup choices. Some believe certain players have earned larger roles. Others believe productive stretches have been cut short too quickly. One name frequently mentioned in these conversations is Raven Johnson. Whenever younger players bring energy and impact, fans naturally want to see more of them. And when those opportunities appear limited, frustration grows. To be fair, every coach faces second-guessing. No rotation will ever satisfy everyone. But when criticism begins coming from analysts, former players, and large portions of the fan base simultaneously, it becomes difficult to ignore.
Isn't going to adapt at all if it's not working. So the Indiana Fever have not switched everything all year. They have not switched everything all year, and they went out and switched everything for 40 minutes. They switched everything in for 40 minutes.
Now, let's address the biggest question. Is Stephanie White actually on the verge of being fired? At this point, there is no verified reporting indicating that Indiana is planning a coaching change.
None.
But that's not really what the story is about. The real story is perception. And perception can become reality if results don't improve. Professional sports are driven by expectations. And expectations surrounding the Fever have never been higher. This isn't a rebuilding team anymore. This is a team expected to compete, expected to win, expected to maximize the talents of one of the most recognizable athletes in America. When those expectations aren't met, pressure follows. That's true in every league. And it's certainly true in the WNBA. The question isn't whether White feels pressure. Every coach does. The question is whether Indiana can turn criticism into progress before frustration reaches another level.
In crucial crunch time than Caitlin Clark. This is unacceptable, folks. It is absolutely unacceptable. She's either your superstar Michael Jordan, or you think she's Eddie Curry. I mean, I don't know what Stephanie White's doing. I don't know what she's thinking. But you've got to let your superstar cook. You have to.
Perhaps the most important thing to understand is that this story reflects something much larger than coaching. It reflects the explosion of attention surrounding women's basketball. Every Fever game is analyzed nationally. Every coaching decision is debated. Every loss becomes a headline. That level of scrutiny didn't exist years ago. It exists now. And Caitlin Clark is a major reason why. She has become one of the most discussed athletes in sports. With that attention comes pressure. Pressure on teammates, pressure on management, and pressure on coaches. Stephanie White happens to be standing directly in the middle of that spotlight.
Head coach that doesn't know, she's not aware of, or she has the inability to make adjustments throughout a game. A head coach who goes away from what's working and tries to do her own thing to the detriment of the team, but to satisfy her own ego. Can you imagine the Minnesota Vikings back when they had Adrian Peterson?
So, where does this story go from here? That's the question everyone is asking. The talent is there. The expectations are there. The spotlight is brighter than ever. But until the Fever consistently translate potential into results, the criticism surrounding Stephanie White isn't going away. Whether fair or unfair, every decision will continue to be examined. Every loss will generate new questions. And every game will add another chapter to one of the most fascinating stories in the WNBA. For now, Stephanie White remains the coach. But the pressure? The pressure has never been higher. And the basketball world will be watching every move. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and let us know in the comments. Do you think the criticism of Stephanie White is justified? Or are fans expecting too much too soon? Thanks for watching.